Hello and a warm welcome everyone to the second of the Riga Business School Alumni Association webinar series, Alumni Talks. In this webinar series, we try to discuss matters and discuss some ideas which are important to us in these very uncertain times. And my name is Andris, and I'm very happy to be the moderator for today's event. If last time we discussed everything and the importance of the matters related to planning and forecasting, then today let's discuss something a little bit more personal. Something that affects almost every one of us, regardless of our position or industry we are in. And that is stress. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation in America, nowadays around 4 in 10 adults experience some sort of disorders related to stress, which is up from just 1 in 10 in 2019. So how to better manage it? And to answer this question, today we have 3 very amazing alumni here with us today. The first one, we have here Raivis Lucijanovs. Raivis has more than 20 years of experience in finance industry, and since 2007 has been working also in RBS as a lecturer, teaching finances and accounting. Apart from that, Raivis is also a biohacker and the ex-chairman of the board of the Latvian Squash Federation. Hi, Raivis.
Andre.
Then we are also very happy here to have Kārlis Danēvičs. Kārlis, since 2003, has been working in SEB Bank Latvia and is currently a member of the board. He has held various different leadership positions, such as Chief Financial Officer, Head of Credits and Risks, and many others. And apart from his SEB commitments, Kārlis is also on boards of various non-governmental organizations, such as the Children SOS Villages, and he is also a frequent lecturer. Hi, Kārlis.
Hi.
And then last, but certainly not least, we are very happy to have here with us today Baiba Krūmiņa, who is a certified University of California, San Diego mindfulness teacher, who has taught mindfulness-based stress reduction programs in Houston, and is also a mindfulness at work trainer. Apart from that, Baiba also holds an MBA, has 10 years of experience in finances, and nowadays is working with busy individuals to help them prevent burnouts. Hi, Baiba.
Hello.
So these are the amazing speakers we have today. And before I give the floor to the first one, just a kind reminder to our audience that in case you have any questions or comments about the things which will be said here, please write them in the chat function, and we will try to get to that at the second half of this event. And now let's move on to our first question, to our first lecturer, which is Raivis. And Raivis, actually, I have been rewatching some of the podcasts which you've done about biohacking and about achieving this super effectiveness. And I have to say that they were really inspiring to me in order to find new avenues to reinvent myself. So I'm really, really curious to hear what do you have to say about this very important topic of stress. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Andrea. And first, some technical announcement. I would appreciate as much as possible cameras on. Camera on policy is one of the priorities at Riga Business School, and it enhances the group dynamics. It helps lecturers or basically to see your body language, your reactions. So it will help me a lot if you just switch your cameras on. You can drink, eat, do whatever it is needed. So yes, thank you very much. It helps. So let me share a screen. I've prepared one slide, one summary slide. All right. Okay. So can you see the slide? Yes. Let me start with some stats. Basically, we have some statistics from American Institute of Stress. In Latvia, I'm not aware of such an institute. So, and some key figures about American markets in relation with stress are as follows. On a daily basis, nearly 1% of American workers miss the work due to stress. In relative terms, it appears probably not too much or not too many, but in absolute terms, it's 1 million American employees on a daily basis miss the work. And on an annual basis, it's $300 billion losses to the companies and corporate aspects. So in Latvia, so probably we can measure that aspect through absenteeism, through sickness leave and whatsoever. But how to address this issue? And from the biohacking perspective, there is such a concept as homeostasis, right? So this is a stable internal condition of the human body, right? And which maintains all the internal processes studied throughout the day, right? In other words, so basically, how can we translate to the regular human language is that how do we feel? Do I feel well throughout the day? How do I maintain my energy level? Is it stable? Do I need to do I have some drowsiness or whatsoever? So basically, the target from the biohacking perspective is to maintain this homeostasis. And I will provide some 8 life hacks related to the working environment and close to that. And just before the very first life hack, please pay attention to the picture. So that's a picture of firewalking. And it took some years, I would say even decades at my decent age. So I performed this firewalking this summer. You can imagine the coals there in a fireplace are something like 450 to 550 degrees. But once you just explain in the mind how this operates, basically you get over that. So my point here is that the concept of stress has changed dramatically from or during the evolution process of humanity in a working place. So what is a typical stress? Missing deadlines, too many emails, some miscommunication with peers or boss or whatsoever, right? And this is stress which is there, and it is basically even kept in the memory days, months, or even years, right? So what has been stress, which has been associated historically with the ancient human behavior? So there's some behavioral or survival patterns, right? So if there's some lion around the corner, right? So naturally our sympathetic nervous system is just like switched on. Fight or flight mode is there, and then basically survival mode is there, and that's stress. Once it's covered, that's done, right? Here nowadays we are more engaged in this classification of stress is distress, right? And we are creating these external factors probably more than needed. So therefore, let's go one by one. So it is some 8 life hacks. First of all, very practical, very useful hack is adjustable standing desk. So, and I would like to highlight a message that in my company, which I'm representing, we are having slightly less than 100 employees. And while moving to the new office, all nearly 100 employees were provided standing adjustable standing desk and most ergonomic seat, right? And again, the benefits of managing the workload during the day, standing and sitting, are self-explanatory, right? So of course, standing position and switching standing positions and sitting positions, it's one of the hacks which we can use. Second, really game changer, I would say, indoor air quality. We have a really nice indoor air quality monitor produced in Latvia, and as you see currently, my window is open. It's 766 parts per million of carbon dioxide. So, and carbon dioxide, it's what we exhale, in other words. So that's one of the key factors which affect productivity during the working day. Try to work in a closed room without open air for an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even I've done some lecturing even for 8 hours, and it was so let's say engaging that the window has not been opened, and at the end of the day you feel that you're drowsy, head is aching, and sometimes you are not even able to remember towards the end of the working day some information, or once you catch yourself rereading the sentence 3-5 times, it's the last time to open the window. So this air quality monitor. It's one of the must-haves in office, and in our office we haven't provided all employees, but basically it's on a selective basis, and it's a game changer. I would advise highly to obtain that. Third, two interesting concepts: broken elevator and rockstar parking, right? So I have an opportunity to walk on a daily basis, not to walk, but to climb, walk up to the 14th floor, right? My office is on the 8th floor, right? And I have agreed with my mind, but there's a concept of broken elevator. Each time I pass elevator, I'm just like saying to myself, it's broken, and I'm walking up. 8th floor, it's like 6-8 times a day, and 14th floor, it's at least one. So there is such a metric that how many steps are we walking during the daytime. So 10,000 steps can be gathered easily, right? And that's one of the hacks how we can reach this 10,000 step target. And rockstar parking, that's the same. So let's forget about parking in the best places in front of the supermarket and in front of our office. Let's park basically in the most distant area, right? And try walking fresh air. So, and it's a really interesting concept. Yeah, that leads to the next hack, walking, 30 to 60 minute walk. And I would add the concept mindfulness walk or mindful walk, being fully aware. It's really important to expose ourselves to the daylight, especially in the first part of the day, which just like regulates sleeping patterns later on. And the best sleeping experts worldwide, one of them, Matthew Walker from University of California, Berkeley, one of the well-known sleep experts, recommends at least 30-minute daily morning walk in order to regulate the sleep patterns. And in case there are some insomnia symptoms, it's a bare minimum 60-minute walk on a daily basis exposed to the daylight. It's really important to do it mindfully, so getting benefits from that walk. Next, sensitive topics about religions or all around the world. So fasting is one of the topics which, based on which all or most of the religions are in agreement that fasting is a nice thing, right? So right now we are in a mode of fasting before Easter. So in a working environment, due to stress, so you can watch during the lunch break how your peer colleagues are eating around you, how mindful their eating patterns are, how stressed their eating patterns are, right? And in some cases, probably it's better to fast, again, mindfully, to be engaged in short-term fasting or extended fasting that brings huge potential benefits, like cellular, it's an interesting term, cellular autophagy, right? So cleansing or cleaning cells by internal processes in the body by fasting enough. So it's a bit lengthier discussion here, but again, try to research about fasting as much as possible. It's a really powerful tool how to increase mind focus and clarity, and especially to get ready before important presentations. It's better not to eat. Once we get sick, right? How about appetite? Right, it's much less because body just like refocuses all the energy to healing the issue rather than being focused on like eating patterns. One of the last points. Coffee, really cozy thing, really a tool of communication. Two things here. It should be as a recommendation, specialty coffee. 95% of coffee in the marketplace is the crap, toxic coffee, and it just like doesn't do any benefits. So make sure in the office you have a highest quality coffee and drink it until 2 p.m. since caffeine is still in the body at least 8 hours, and then it's not extracted fully. And given the caffeine tolerance, the sleep patterns may be affected. So the best practice is to use coffee by 2 p.m. Last but not least, driving 90, 70, 50, 20. last year and a half, I have been driving 999 times out of 1,000, following the signs, road signs, 90, 70, 50, and even 20 in living areas, right? Amazing. A lot of stress is taken away. So once you drive to the work, following this methodology, 20, 50, 70, 90, 50% of potential stress is taken away immediately. And last but not least, this is the three things: breathing, sleep, and hydration. Just I'm mentioning here because these three are really huge topics. These are really important instruments to unleash your superhuman skills, because there is some sleeping superhuman in each of us. We need to just like unleash this power. So breathing, sleeping, hydration, and probably nutrition as well. These are really four huge topics and four life hacks. Improve your life quality and manage homeostasis. Thank you, Andrei.
Thank you very much, Raivis. And what is one of my takeaways from your talks is that we actually have so many tools right around us, which we can use to reduce stress. We just have to pay attention to them and know how to access them. So thank you very much for that. And now let's move to our next speaker, which is Kārlis Danēvičs. And Kārlis, having the pleasure of working with you, I can say that you do have quite of the reputation in the bank of being a very mindful and calm person. So I hope that you will share some of your secrets with us also today. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Anders. No, I guess definitely I don't consider myself to be a person without a stress, because that is actually, medically speaking, a sick person. So in that sense, I'll come to that in slides, but in that sense, one should not set standards too high for yourself. So if you are stressed about the fact that you are stressed, then maybe it is too much stress in your life. But if you're just stressed, but if you sort of manage it properly, then it's fair enough. As long as you are alive, you will have that situation. And speaking about crap coffee, I'm now sort of starting to think that I definitely have this crap coffee, Raivis, but at least I will finish it until 2 o'clock. So at least one part will be fine. I'll try to manage that in parallel. Yep, so I wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you. Can you see the slides?
We do.
Yeah, when it comes to sort of stress management, crisis management, I have been into banking now for close to 20 years, and yeah, it is a cyclical business. It is a lot about managing your own stress, managing your own head, but also managing sort of the crisis situation around you, etc., etc. One of the best suggestions I have ever come across, and that really works, whenever you are in a crisis situation, whenever you are in a stress, the best thing you can do to yourself is to sort of realize what Marcus Aurelius was saying, that you have power over your mind, not outside events. And when you realize this, when you sort of meditate on this statement, when you sort of allow it to sink inside you, then you find a bit more strength. And this is yeah, also a typical business approach that Andres said once. So definitely remember this, that your problem is only what you can solve. If you have an economic crisis outside, well, unless you are Minister of Economic Affairs or Prime Minister, it's not technically speaking your specific problem. So you shouldn't kind of read everything every day, follow stock markets, and be sort of very concerned about everything. That is not something you have power over. But your own mind, your own ability to focus on what is within your head, what is the problem that you can solve, that is, frankly speaking, as good as it gets. So whenever in crisis, whenever in a stressful situation, try not to focus too much on outside events. They will just bring you more and more stress, but try to focus on you in that specific situation. So it is COVID, it is currently a stressful situation. I can't change that, but okay. So what are my actions within this time period? How I am trying to calm myself down? What is sort of the plan that I have for myself personally and professionally? Your biggest enemy, of course, in your life is you. It's not that outside events create sort of psychologically speaking, create stress per se. Marcus Aurelius in his sort of meditations, which was sort of meditations to himself written in the evenings, he was saying after a stressful day that Marcus, calm down. It's not that somebody chopped your head open and did something there. It is you yourself that is harming yourself. It is you that are now sort of not able to fall asleep because you are still overthinking the events of the day, etc., etc. So in a way, it's a painful admission to say that you are your own worst enemy, and you consume most of your energy because you are having some sort of strange debate within yourself, some strange arguments within yourself. But yeah, as they say, at least in Bible, the truth shall set you free. So when you sort of realize this truth, when you again allow it to sink into you, then maybe you have a path to gain more energy and gain more psychological stability. And psychologically speaking, so whenever you are in a crisis or stressful situation, then you sort of focus on a shorter time horizon. You don't think about the past, you don't think about the future. Well, I come from doctor's family. Doctors know it very well. When there is medical emergency, you focus on first 5 minutes, how to stay alive. So the time horizon is very, very, very short. You don't focus on what happened a year ago, what will happen with you after a year. You really sort of scale it to one moment in time. And the more you are present in this presence, the more you are in sync with that, the more you realize that's the only real thing, the more calm you actually will be. And again, sort of purely, so sorry to say, technically and psychologically speaking, if you are too depressed, if you feel a lot of insecurity, then maybe there's too much past in your life or too much past in your head, in your thoughts. If you feel extremely anxious, extremely stressful, then yeah, again, technically speaking and psychologically speaking, maybe you should have a conversation with yourself that there's too much future in your head and there's too much thinking and discussion about what the future will bring in your head. And the bigger the crisis, the more sort of stressful the situation, the more important it is to sort of take away past, take away future, no matter how strange it sounds, and focus on here and now and present, and what are your actions currently in this minute, in next hour, maybe in this day, maybe in this week, but not further than that. One of the most well-known modern psychologists, Jordan Peterson, a Canadian guy, he's also, similarly as I am, big fan of Fyodor Dostoevsky, so he's also a big fan of Fyodor Dostoevsky and thinks he's one of the best psychologists that there is around. As a psychologist, he started his surveys and his sort of analysis by looking into crabs. One might say crabs differ from human beings. In a way they do, but one of his most famous findings and things he described is that sometimes sort of you might have a situation where two crabs get into stressful situation. They get into fight. And then one crab loses, just coincidence. They were both the same size. Nothing was sort of predominantly wrong with the loser, and nothing was sort of terribly right with the winner. Just coincidence, and one loses. And the loser afterwards, unfortunately, starts to become more scared. He sort of starts to generate less serotonin, and he gets on this negative spiral. So when in next fight, it's more probable that he will lose again, and he will sort of even shrink and become smaller and smaller and smaller until you barely can see, and he's sort of far away in the reef somewhere you don't see. And the winner, though it was just a coincidence, starts to generate more serotonin, treats himself better. It's more probable that he's kind of better fighter in next fight, etc., etc. So he is able to get on this positive loop. Well, in real life, I hope we don't have sort of physical fights too often, and it's not that define the serotonin levels that we have in our head, and therefore anxiety and stress. It is more this sort of competition we have in our own head. And what do we tell to ourselves? Do we tell we have lost this fight, and then we are on this negative spiral, or not so much? So one of the best things I have been able to tell to myself is that when you go out there to present something, or where you're in the middle of the crisis situation, it is okay to be scared. It is okay to be concerned. It is okay to have some level of stress, but it is not okay to get down on this negative spiral where you start to be concerned about the fact that you are stressed, and then you are stressed about the fact that you are stressed, and then it just kind of goes down in a negative spiral. So it's okay, you are kind of here, and in that moment in time, it is a concerning situation, it is a stressful situation, but you don't sort of bring yourself even more down. Yeah, and I have also noticed in other people, the ones that set an ambition that they will go out and do a presentation or act in a very stressful situation without any stress, that's not, medically speaking, that's not possible. Sorry to say, coming from doctor's family, I can say that unless you are sociopath or psychopath, you will always have some level of concern, some level of stress. That's just normal. And I think Raivis already a bit touched this animal behavior, flight, fight, or freeze. Well, we all can refer to animals that pretend they are frozen, lizards that kind of have this flight mode, the rabbits, the ones that fight, mad dogs, and yeah, animals can do that and humans can do that. But one thing is profoundly different for human individuals, and this is this ability to face the situation what you have, to say, okay, it's not a nice situation, it is a stressful situation, I'm not fighting with it, I'm not running away from it, I'm not frozen, I'm facing it, and I'm sort of seeing what can I do about it. I think it's also for us in a finance sector to say that not only on individual level, but also sort of when you look at capitalism, when you look at companies, what is Darwinism? Is it survival of the strongest company, of the strongest individual? Is it survival of the smartest company, smartest individual? No, it is about survival of the one that can adapt to the stressful situation, that puts some changes into motion and sort of creates some uncertainty for you. The one that adapts best is the one that survives. And again, Darwinism is you can't run away from it. Capitalism is Darwinism. You as human beings are also products of that in one way or the other. It doesn't really matter about your religious beliefs. Even in that context, this would still be the case. I think Ernest Hemingway also gave a good thought that well, mistakes happen, and the ones that don't do anything probably make less mistakes, but the ones that are out there, the ones that end up in some stressful situations, they end up making mistakes. I have felt like shit after a certain day, after a certain presentation, after a certain task. Well, of course, that's life. And life breaks us all, but some of us in the broken place become stronger. So you always need to have this positive growth mindset that you feel like shit and you drive or you walk home, but you say to yourself, okay, it was not good today, but I can heal. I can heal it. I can become stronger in this place, and I can learn something from this. Warren Buffett in finance sector has a wonderful saying. He says he's always positive every day because he either earns or he learns. So every day he has this positive mindset. Today I earned, well, or today I learned, and everything is positive about it. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. We might come back a bit later when we discuss how this pandemic or some other stressful situations have changed the world. But in a big picture, if you really zoom out, every pandemic, every crisis, if it's not a war and utter waste of human life, changes world. But holistically speaking, there are positive aspects coming out of every crisis, be it sewage system in London after cholera, be it wide streets of Paris, Champs-Élysées, be it Milan, be it this pandemic that will definitely create wide digital streets and digital means of the new economy. So there's always something positive in every stressful situation, in every crisis. Thank you. I think I'll stop there, and we might come back to some of this later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kārlis. And as always, very philosophical, but at the same time, very practical and on-point observations. And I'm very happy that you mentioned Marcus Aurelius' meditations, and I can really suggest and recommend to everyone listening in here to read them. They're really amazing stuff there. And now let's move on to our last speaker, Baiba Krūmiņa. And before I give the floor to you, Baiba, I actually have to say that you were the first person I approached regarding this webinar. And as at that point, things were still a little bit uncertain and, dare I say, stressful, your positive and open attitude really helped to give me and us confidence about this event. So thank you about that. I'm very much looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much. I think you are doing an amazing job with introducing us, and the same good words actually go to you as well. My presentation is shared by Elsa today, as I had some technical difficulties. I'll try to be short in 10 minutes. And so world has changed. If we see from last March, but there is something that was already there. And I talked about it, and I call it invisible pandemic. And as Kārlis just said, from everything, even the worst pandemics, comes something good. And it might not seem so, but the invisible pandemic is stress. It was before, and I would say it's a first world problem. And now it just reveals in such a everyday lives, and it has touched everyone. And I am very confident in saying that everyone. So I'll ask Elsa to share the next slide. Everyone knows that's their problem. Like, oh, I'm stressed, that's my problem. But actually, I would invite to think that it spreads to the people around you. And there's a research behind it. The stress is contagious. There's a Harvard Business Review and research about mirror neurons, which I find fascinating. I teach about mindfulness, which is about mind training, and it's a lot about neuroscience and how our brain works. And we have mirror neurons, and that's such a fantastic, I think, fact that scientists have revealed. And what does it mean? It means that we scan people who are around us, and we, like sponges, feel and copy the emotions of other people. It's the same about positive, but as this topic today is stress, we feel the stress of other people. And why it's important? It's important for the leaders who lead companies, who lead teams. It's about moms at home and dads who are at home after work. And for you to get the sense what I'm talking about, have you ever had a situation you've been invited to a party, to a home party, and housewife is mad, but she does not tell that she's angry? And you might even ask, has something happened? Nothing, I'm fine. But you feel that there is something in the air, and the brain can't like pay it in words, but you feel the stress. So dealing with stress, it's not only our individual kind of problem, but we have responsibility if we are parents and if we are leading a team, because they feel the stress. And if they feel the stress, they work less, they have less focus, and we all know what happens when we experience anxiety. So, and they call it actually toxic leaders, those who do not know how to manage their own emotions. So it's very important. Can we move on, Elsa? Obviously, my specialty is mindfulness, which I was fortunate to find 9 years ago. I was working in a bank, I was stressed, there were problems in relationship, difficult pregnancy, and basically I was exhausted. But I have heard that meditation helps, and it truly did help for me. And I studied it more in States when we moved with family. But where's the problem? mindfulness maybe is for those like hardcore meditators like me. But there's a global problem, and there's a research, again, maybe you've heard about it from Harvard Business Review, that we spend half of the day unaware what we are doing. We are not aware what we are thinking. So basically we are like sleepwalking. And you might say, so okay. But the problem is when we are not present with our own minds, with our own physical body, we are on autopilot. And what they discovered, that we are thinking about the past or future. And this is what Kārlis mentioned in his in his presentation, because the past is probably thoughts of regret, depression, and thinking about the future. There's anxiety. What will happen? And these are psychological factors that trigger fight and flight, what just Raivis was telling us. So there is no imminent danger. Very rarely we have like close to death experience, but psychologically, half of the time, if we are not training our mind, we are automatically living in stress. And the thoughts we think, they say they are 80–90% the same what we were thinking yesterday. So it's just this cycle. How to break it? Well, we have a superpower. I call it superpower. And I would, can I ask Elsa to share the next slide? And that's mindfulness. There are many definitions, and basically mindfulness is paying attention, knowing what you are doing. But there's a leader, the CEO, Nathan Clare, who defined mindfulness, and I really like his definition. It's the practice of knowing your body's physical and mental state. Basically, you know what you are doing as you are doing it. And recognizing this state, we have a choice how to respond in situations. And that breaks this stress loop when we are automatically reacting, automatically getting angry, automatically getting anxious. And we can say, hey, I can't control this. This is what Kārlis was telling previously. I'm not choosing to think about it or to enter that territory in this moment. And the leadership team that uses this skill is better able to access the competitive advantage, I would say, and make necessary these changes and set effective goals for their team. So everyone benefits when the leaders become mindful. And very quickly, I will just wrap the next slides too. There are many benefits. There are many benefits of mindfulness, and there's loads of research, and from business leaders to parenting to giving birth and raising children and focusing. But I would point out two. Daniel Goleman, I watched his interview. He's writing a new book. He talks about emotional intelligence, and mindfulness is the basis of self-awareness, self-management. And he said out of all this research, what has been done, very credible, are 2 points. That when we are training attention, we improve our focus, meaning we can get and keep concentration for longer, so we become more effective. And second, we reduce reactivity. And that is this fight and flight response that creates stress. And these two things, this is what mindfulness does. When we pay attention in the present moment, we actually are training our mind to be here and now. And I will wrap up with the last slide and with one takeaway practice, which is a classical mindfulness practice, and I teach it in organizations as one of the many practices, techniques during day, and it's called STOP. And it stands for, the first one is stop where you are, like physically stop for a second. you take a breath. It might be long, it might be deep, it might be just natural breath, it doesn't matter, but you know that you are breathing. And you observe what is happening now, or what just happened if there was a conflict. Okay, I feel shit. He did that, and I feel really angry. And you name the emotion in your mind, or even out loud. When I get triggered in the evening, I might say to kids, I'm getting angry. And everyone knows, whoops. So there's a possibility for different result. And the last one, proceed. Knowing that you're angry, your response will come from the point of balance. Okay, you might still scream, you might still shout, but the words that you will speak, they will be meaningful. They will be not reactive, or you might choose to leave the room or just take a breath and it's gone. So take these mini stop moments during the day, and they will make a difference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Baiba. Very powerful stuff. And it really amazes me how such a small thing as just stopping and observing can make such a big difference. So now, before we open up to the questions, I just want to reflect a little bit of what you said. And it is really amazing to hear that almost every one of you emphasized the fact that we need to start with the things which are in our own control, so with us, and not really start with others or the environment around us. So thank you very much about your great speeches. So now we can move on to some questions, which are both online now, and also some of them which had been sent to us previously. Some of them are quite similar in nature, so we'll try to combine them as much as we can. And one of the questions which we have is about the positive aspects of COVID-19 pandemic. So we know that currently there are many, many tragic things that are happening, and we have to acknowledge that. But what do you think are some of the positive aspects which this situation will bring to the world? And maybe I saw that, Kārlis, you had a slide about that. So maybe can I ask you to share your thoughts first regarding this?
Yeah, of course, coming from doctor's family, I would say I'm deeply humble to this crisis, because it's a medical crisis and it's nobody's fault that you kind of get ill, and so it's yeah, easier maybe to it's harder to generalize about positive things here. But from a pure corporate perspective, it's very clear that economies will be more digital. I myself, before COVID, I never dared to work a full day outside office. Now I'm 100% certain there will not be a week when I'm in the office every day. So it is good for environment, less CO2 emissions. It's good for the health. Instead of driving to work, you can take a long walk, as Raivis suggested. So there are plenty of such opportunities. And what I also observed, frankly speaking, believe it or not, I'm quite an introvert as a person. So in that sense, there are very many positive aspects. You simply can do more. You don't have this buzz around you. You don't have constant bumping into people. Some might enjoy it. I enjoy it for 1 day per week, but it turns out I don't enjoy it every day from morning till evening. And that's a bit of a discovery, and in my case, a positive discovery. But I'm sure others are like that as well, more than they thought before. Thank you.
Indeed, Carl. As a fellow introvert, I can totally agree about those aspects that you just mentioned in your last part. Then we do have a lot of questions about how to reduce the stress in your colleagues and in the workplace. So knowing that this is probably a very, very large topic to talk about, but maybe you, Baiba, can share just couple of things and suggestions. What can companies, what can managers do to make their employees' lives a bit less stressful?
Yes, thank you. I think I will be honest that it really depends a lot from the leaders and of the company, how they are treating their employees. And what I can see that the companies are a reflection from the leaders. If the leaders are like old style thinking and very aggressive, there's much, the responsibility is actually on you. So what you can do is, as Raivis said, take walks. The nature heals. This is not like a miraculous scientific revelation. If you just look at the tree out of the window, you will get peaceful. You won't get that looking on the car of your neighbors. You'll start thinking like, well, I want that car too. How did he get that? But just the nature, walk without podcasts, music, as I will mention, right? Hear the sounds, see the sounds, sense that. Walking as much as you can, taking small breaks as you eat, as you go to the bathroom. Sense the body, sense your souls, just tuning in and allow these stressful thoughts, let go, because this is what is driving you constantly. Check in with your team regularly. The best way, one-on-one, how are you doing? Ask twice, how are you doing? Like really, how are you doing? And encourage meetings. They start promptly on time and they end promptly. Encourage shorter meetings because there's a lot of Zoom exhaustion. People talk. Everybody needs to participate, being mindful of who are these stakeholders, and also taking breaks between those meetings. Leaving your phone, what we are so addicted to, social dilemma. I saw you have a webinar about it. Leave them out while you work. This is distraction that drives us crazy. So really taking care and putting yourself first. If your manager is not doing that, it's yours. Well, we have saying in Latvian, slīcēji dzīvība ir savas līdzēji rokās. I can't pronounce it, but basically your responsibility is for yourself and just really, really taking care. Oh, and one more, which I know, which really was been game changer for me, a to-do list. You know, guys, we have to-do lists, like so much stuff. And what drives burnout? That we don't have time. As you see that list, ask yourself, if I do this thing, will that bring me result? Because we have the higher result. Is it sales or something? Question this to-do list and do only those things that will drive you to the result. And that one will kind of give this sense of progress, which is needed. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Can I just add a couple of things, because what Baiba said very much resonated with me. On this to-do list, this is something I have struggled with, but to an extent have been able to implement, and have also seen in others that they implement a profound change. And if you carry around to-do list that consists of 10 or 20 or 30 items, you are always living in the future. It's never enough of you. You are always stressed out. You're always anxious, etc., etc. The best thing is if you take your to-do list and you say, okay, there is a time dimension. Here and now, I have one thing to talk with you. After 1 hour, I have another thing in my to-do list. Next week, there's another item in to-do list. So, and then you force yourself to have a to-do list that consists of one item. And that one item is here and now in this point in time that you are supposed to do, nothing more. And it's initially hard to believe it, but really believe me, this sets you free, and it creates such a good energy that you always, it's enough of you because you need to be here in one thing, and there's only one thing in your to-do list. You never have 10, 20 or 30 items, or you force yourself, if you have a lot of work, then you force yourself to put them in a calendar specifically. And also what Baiba said about toxic people, I very much agree with that. That's also sort of sometimes that creates this additional stress. And yeah, if you bump into those, I'm taking sometimes a mental walk. Taught to me by Fyodor Dostoevsky. He said that if somebody is acting like an evil, not nice person, then that somebody has suffered a lot Either his daddy didn't love him, or his mother was beating him up in a childhood, sorry to say, or there was a deep trauma and he has been wronged in the life. And therefore he's acting, sorry to say, like this scrap coffee that Raivis referred to. A person that has been treated well never treats others in a bad way. And then you start to have this mental walk, you look at that person and it suddenly becomes an easier, because you think, my God, what has been done to you? Why are you so angry? Why are you so stressed out? And then it sort of releases some positive energy as well. And yeah, some of you had also questions about this ability to get over mistake and difficult situation. I think it really depends on having good people around you. I wouldn't be where I am, I wouldn't be in SCB if after one very large mistake, my Swedish boss would not have told to me, yeah, you are not allowed to leave SCB now. I will not fire you. You are not allowed to leave SCB. We have invested money in your education. You have the right attitude. Yes, you have done a big mistake, but that's a beauty. That's a value now, and you are supposed to continue. And that's it. I expected him to fire me, and in that situation, he treated me exactly the opposite way. And of course, now it's my obligation to try to do a bit of the same in similar situations. So it does depend on people around you. You can't manage everything on your own. So that's also what resonated with me from Baiba's speech. Thank you.
Yes, if I can add on the top. Yes, to-do list from the physiological perspective, right? Multitasking reduces productivity by at least 40%, right? And biologically, brain cannot focus simultaneously on at least 2 or more tasks. So we need to focus really. And here, sleep hygiene and sleep practices also help a lot. So you to be the most productive, to be most efficient, to reduce stress. So you should be aware of your sleep chronotype, right? So according to your sleep chronotype, so you'll be fully aware which are your hours during which you are most productive. Yeah, early morning, afternoon, evening, right? And then focusing at the most significant tasks during the most productive time according to your sleep chronotype. So you can feel it even without any scientific tests, right? So when it is better to tackle the most significant tasks. So I would encourage just like to focus on single task to reduce multitasking and within a given time frame. But I like the slide Kārlis presented earlier. So we are not coming back to working day from 9 to 17, from 9 to 5. It's not going to happen, right? It will be a kind of new normal, right? So therefore it's really important to focus on like Robin Sharma has this term monomaniacal focus, right? So and basically if it is early hours in the morning, monomaniacal focus 2 hours or 1 hour on the most important tasks which are set for today, right? And last but not least, Kārli, I must confess a bit. I was in one conference like 2 years ago, and you were presenting the concept of sabotage. And I borrowed that, and I'm also using it in my lectures. So, and it's really important to recognize sabotage techniques in your working environment, in relationship with customers and suppliers. It really works. And Kārlis was presenting the extract of sabotage manual from the
Secret Service.
Yes, military service, right? And it really helps. It really helps to recognize early destruction, conscious or probably unconscious, right? And you can prevent it as early as possible. So thanks, Kārlis, for that.
Thank you. And I can totally agree with the points which you all touched upon, which was about those to-do lists. And apart from the fact that they really make you actually more productive, because as you also, Raivis, mentioned, like multitasking is one of the biggest lies we have taught now ourselves. So apart from that, to-do lists also just make you feel really great when you just physically or in your computer check out those boxes. And now we have time for one more question, and I will just combine some of the questions which we have here, which is regarding some practical steps on what to do when we feel stressed. So maybe just Raivi, as you were talking a lot about different tools, what are some of your preferred techniques and the most powerful techniques you could tell someone to try at the very moment when they feel stressed?
Yeah, I think Jānis was asking the question. Jānis, thank you for that. Yes, and of course it's important to manage this so-called homeostasis or stable internal condition of the human body. But yes, the stress can come and you should react to that, right? And these stressors are there. This lion behind the corner can be there, right? So, and I would like to start with most powerful technique. In that case, it's a breathing, right? So it's a breathing. So deep breathing, it's something what a woman so learns during her lifetime than giving birth, at least if it's not earlier, and it probably is more challenging for a man. So, and many men still cannot breathe deeply and to basically manage that process. I would say that one method to restart yourself, like we restart our computers on a daily basis, right? So we switch on and switch off and switch on the computers, right? And we need to restart us the same way. And in a stressful situation, we can apply one of the techniques. It's Buteyko breathing method, right? So find a place, probably outdoor or somewhere the fresh air is there. Breathe regularly, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out for 30 seconds, then keep your breath for 30 seconds. The second stage, breathe in, breathe out, 35 seconds. Keep your breath 35 seconds and go to 45 seconds, right? Once you do that cycle, 3-4 minutes, you're fully reset. Another technique is which helps also if you just like, it's not only in a case of stress, but also if you feel a kind of sickness is coming or so, try to do 20 connected breaths, quite in a huge speed. Basically, like I will try to demonstrate, like a couple of them. Like it can be nose, mouth breathing. It can be mouth breathing. You can do like that. If you can do that 20, 30, 40 times in 2-3 sets, oxygenation will happen and basically a quick reset will be done. And unless there is something more important, or basically if it's just you can affect your mental and physical state by these two practical techniques. Then physical movement, definitely climbing up or down, or the recommendation is if you can done some, if there is some space for that, if you can do some explosive workload, running for some, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 meters. It also will fully refresh and restart your brain, your physical condition. But basically the easiest, probably, and the most practical part would be the breathing exercise, and trust me, that's a game changer.
I can totally agree with that. Like different breathing techniques and ways of breathing has been one of my biggest findings in the last years. And apart from which you mentioned, you can everyone can Google in their free time something like Wim Hof method, rebirthing, and there are many different powerful things there as well. So thank you very much about your answer. And I see that there are also a lot of very good suggestions in the chat function. Unfortunately, we can't get to them now, but I hope that you got the chance to read them. And we have actually reached the end of our webinar. And I just want to extend my deepest gratitude to the speakers, Baiba, Kārlis, and Raivis. Thank you very much for your time and energy which you spent here. And it is truly because of the people like you that the world is becoming a better place. So thank you very much about that. And before we finish, maybe do you have some final thoughts you can leave us with, just like a one sentence to the viewers?
I don't know. I think on such occasions, I maybe sometimes quote Steve Jobs. He said that most of the really powerful things are simple but not easy. It's very simple what we discussed today, but it's not easy to live in that mode. So that's another thing that practical intelligence always beats this theoretical intelligence, and that's what I sincerely wish to everyone, to have this practical intelligence around those simple but not easy things.
Thank you, Kārlis. Baiba, maybe you have some final thoughts.
I just wanted to maybe say that to be kind to yourself. And I really like Kārlis, this mind walk practice. When you see these toxic or angry people around you, be kind to them, because you don't know what broken dreams they are carrying, because what is their past. And also to yourself, in the evening, just say, be grateful for what you have. The simple things, for the food, for the house, for the healthy kids, for your breath, that you can breathe freely in this moment today. Being kind.
Thank you. And Raivis, what can you leave us with?
Yes, I would like to leave with one of the mental models of Robin Sharma. So, which would wrap up probably today's discussion. Try to think in a perspective of the four categories of mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, right? And try to find your own right balance between these, how he puts it, internal empires. Once you master these internal empires, again, you're moving towards superhuman performance. So I would encourage to find the right balance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also thank, of course, our audience. And if you wish to hear more from Riga Business School, then please make sure to follow us on social media. And also, for those of you who are interested in some networking, we have already scheduled our next lunchtime networking session on March 16. And for more of that, information will follow. So thank you once again, everyone, to attending. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, audience. And stay kind and stay safe. Goodbye, and see you in other events. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.